Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. This is Maze once again, and welcome to another episode of my series, Behind the Gamertag. And if you all are not familiar with this series, it's basically a series where I sit down and talk about random subjects that I think are important for fans of video games and anything that has to do with video games in general. And in this particular episode, I'm going to be covering a very interesting subject, and of course you saw that in the title earlier on in that introduction. But I do want to mention that the poll for this week's video was very, very close on Twitter, and it was exciting to see which episode of what series you guys wanted to see, and it was close and it went down to the wire. But of course, you guys picked the next episode of Behind the Gamertag, and of course, it's going to be an exciting one to get into. Before I do get into that, though, I want to talk a little bit about the gameplay that you're watching right here, and this is a Search and Destroy competitive 3v3 UMG match that I was playing with some of Benson's subscribers. And if you don't know who Benson is, he's a professional Call of Duty commentator who is going to be attending Anaheim, that Call of Duty event that will be happening very, very soon here coming up in June. So very exciting stuff, and of course his subscribers are absolutely classy individuals, and we had a chance to play some competitive matches and some wagers, and this one was one of the 3v3 competitive matches on Stronghold Search and Destroy. Some crazy plays do go through, so definitely stick it out for the gameplay. It's exciting stuff. I had a particularly good map here on Stronghold, so hopefully you guys do enjoy the gameplay, and of course enjoy a very exciting end to this gameplay as well. I won't spoil it for you guys, but you're definitely going to want to watch it all the way until the end. But without further ado, let's jump into the subject at hand. Now this one is very, very important to me simply because I've been part of the Call of Duty eSports scene for such a long time, since 2003, and it's just been very, very interesting and entertaining to see how far the scene has come. I mean, it has been incredible to see the growth of Call of Duty eSports and the new era of Call of Duty eSports particularly. And I think that this year has been a very interesting one, to say the least. I mean, Activision taking over has brought a lot to the table, both positive things and, of course, some negative things that I'll be talking about later on in the commentary. But, of course, I want to start off with the positive things, and there are quite a number of them. It's just boiled down to how Activision has been able to take feedback from not only the fans, but also the players. And they made a huge effort to get players involved, get them in meetings, get organizations involved that were never even interested in Call of Duty eSports until a more professional point of view was taken on the esport by the organization. So it's super exciting to see how that has developed, and it's great to see how a lot of organizations that are known for League of Legends, Counter-Strike, and other organizations are starting to get involved simply because of the level of professionalism that Activision brought to the table. And of course, that level of professionalism is really what has pushed Call of Duty eSports to a new era where professionalism is key, and now players are going to most likely be able to make a living from playing professional Call of Duty, because before it was about how many tournaments and how many 2K and 5K MLG events or UMG events you could compete in online, and then of course placing well at events. And of course, events had decent prize pools a year ago in Advanced Warfare, but they weren't as consistent as far as online Call of Duty was concerned. And of course, if you're not able to travel to the events as a player, and the organizations are not able to fund these players and rosters, the players were really struggling in regards to how much money they were making if they were not top echelon players. And I think that is definitely a benefit that Activision, stepped in and decided to not only throw more money in the prize pool for online Call of Duty, but also for the events that are, being held this season. Of course, one of the downsides to this season of professional Call of Duty and Call of Duty eSports has been the lack of LAN events and the lack of community events that have been hosted. And that's something that has been the talks of a lot of fans, mentioning, man, I really want to attend a LAN event as a spectator, but also the players have chimed in and said, we just haven't really been able to compete at LAN events. There have only been like 3 or 4 major LAN events, and honestly, it has just been a slow year when it comes to LAN events, and that's really been a complaint from a lot of people. And I think the main thing that we have to take under account, if we're looking at this as positively as we could, is the fact that Activision is really trying to get their feet wet and seeing how they could space out events so that it's worth it for not only spectators, but also so that it's not something that gets oversaturated in the market. And also they're trying to establish the stakes a little bit more in that regard. And it just seems like it's a business decision that is probably going to change a lot more in the future, but this is the first year that they've taken over, and there's a lot of things that they're still trying to figure out. And of course, they're still trying to get feedback from players, from organizations, and they're trying to not only have as many events as they can, but they're trying to make them as professional as possible. And they're trying to make it as user-friendly as they can, and of course that takes time. So it hasn't been the best yet, but I'm sure that it will improve later on in the future. Another thing that's very, very important that I've been asked countless times on social media and also just personally, and that has been, what do you think of the age restriction for Call of Duty eSports now? As you guys know, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 has an M rating, and that causes some issues with younger players. And it hasn't caused as many issues in the past, because obviously you could have a parent sign off when you go to GameStop or wherever you purchase your copy of the game. You would have to have a parent with you in order to purchase the game. And, it was an issue where it was becoming an issue more with events. And that age was a really tricky thing to deal with when it came to player contracts, for example, or when it came to just events in general. Parents had to sign off because obviously the players were minors, and it was a little bit of an issue in that regard, with a lot of parental discussions, and of course a lot with how the esport organizations were really considering their player rosters. Because even though some of the very, very talented names in Call of Duty were, that age group from, 15, 16, and 17-year-olds, it was still an issue when it came to locking them down in the larger organizations such as, FaZe or Team Envious or Optic Gaming, and organizations like that really require players to have a contract and lock their players down in that regard. And that's something that, every player tries to strive to work for. If you're a professional player, or if you're, a semi-pro player trying to get to that professional level, you're working towards joining some of those larger organizations like the Optic Gamings, like the Team Envious organizations, and, other organizations like that. And in order for that to really work properly, you have to really make sure you're jumping through all of the right hoops. And that is a massive one. And of course, Activision took that under account, and it caused a little bit of conflict with the underage community. And overall, I think it was a positive thing, because if you're a competitive player and your chances of making a living from your passion are increased by adding an age restriction, I think it's a good thing. And of course, a lot of the audience that I was talking to at the time were kind of surprised by my answer, because I'm all about growth and all about helping the community. And if the community can be helped by something, I'm all for it. And I think that this was a step in the right direction to try to help players make a living from playing Call of Duty professionally. it goes without saying that that had to be done at some point. And I also think that that age restriction really helped with establishing the maturity of the Call of Duty esports community as well, because there were some unacceptable things happening on social media with some of the younger players, and they would just carry themselves very poorly at events. They were not managing the money that they would get at their events very effectively for some of those players. Not all of them. It's a generalization, but in general, when you're young and you're making that much money on a weekend, you're not going to really manage your funds as well. And that's something that if you're a little bit of an older, more established individual, then you're definitely going to think of those types of things as, you know, your future progresses. So it's definitely something that I think was interesting, to say the least, in that regard as well. So, I mean, I could talk about that for a very, very long period of time. And, of course, there isn't enough gameplay for me to delve into that. But some of those negative things that I was referring to as far as the Call of Duty World League has been the lack of events. Also has been, you know, some of the rule sets that have been implemented in regards to the business side of things. But, of course, those are things that will improve moving forward. And overall, the new era of Call of Duty esports is really looking good. You know that it's going in the right direction when you have organizations that have backed other esports for years. You know, esports that have been established firmly in the professional sector, like Counter-Strike in the first-person side of things, or, you know, Halo, or League of Legends. These are, you know, esports that have been established for quite some time now. And the fact that they're now getting involved in Call of Duty esports shows that Call of Duty esports is headed in the right direction. But that's pretty much all I'm going to get into in this commentary. If I get a lot of feedback and you guys want me to discuss this further, I'd be more than happy to do that. So just let me know in the comment section below. But guys, that will wrap up this commentary and this gameplay. And my god, this gameplay ended with a bang there with that ace on Stronghold Search and Destroy. Hope you guys enjoyed. And of course, I will catch you guys on my next video. Have a great day.